All right, what's up? My name is Edwin. I'm a performing arts physical therapist, and I'm here with...
My name is Brandon. I also go by Static.
So go ahead and just give us like a background to who you are.
So I am a all-around artist. I primarily focus on my photography, my videography, and my dance. I've been dancing for the past 15 years. I'm here in New York, ranging from me doing dance battles, me teaching in different dance studios, going over workshops, working in and out of schools. And that's pretty much been like my main career as of right now.
That's amazing. So how long have you been dancing for?
15 years, yes.
How'd you originally get into that?
I got into this originally actually through photo and video.
Really?
So initially it started with me going to different hip hop events, and I was doing that for about a year until I got the positive peer pressure from the people that are now my crewmates, you know, for me to give it a shot. And the rest was kind of history. So,
okay. Yeah. And I know you do a lot of battles.
Yes.
You're all over the place. You're such an active dude. Like, he's literally got endless energy, even though he says he's tired. I always see him doing something all around the city. And I know you recently had an injury while you were dancing. Do you mind actually sharing a little bit about that?
For sure. So this happened about, I want to say, roughly, back in February?
Yeah.
It was some time ago. But long story short, I was competing, and this was at Lincoln Center, and I did a maneuver that ended up really messing up my knee. I jumped and dove back down into the floor, and I landed incorrectly, and I ended up just having like the craziest amount of pain right above my knee. So the region that is lower than my thigh, but again above my knee, and that just had me messed up for an extremely long time. I eventually learned to tolerate the pain, and I continued to dance and teach around it, but it was annoying.
And that's actually a common thing that a lot of dancers do, is just compensating and getting around that. Yeah. And that's just like an incredible talent in itself, is being able to continue to do what you do while you're still in pain. And the thing is, although that's great, we still want to try to address the main issue, otherwise it's never going to go away and potentially could turn into something even worse. So what we're going to focus on today is strengthening those quads, right? So the quadriceps muscle, it's a giant muscle. It is comprised of multiple muscles, and it attaches into the kneecap, and it attaches into what we call the tibial tuberosity. So it makes sense that if you hit it, it got injured. Yeah. And typically what we can do is strengthen those quads, and it usually can help to build up that strength and stability to prevent that irritation. So we'll start off with a bit of a warm-up, and warm-ups are very important regardless for when you're getting ready for dance, a battle, class, whatever it is. It helps your body to prepare for whatever you need to do. Yes. So let's go ahead and start off. We're gonna do something that is sitting on the ground and lifting the leg up.
Alrighty.
All right, so what I'm gonna have you do is you're gonna sit down on your butt, legs in front of you. You're gonna keep your knees straight. You can either put your hands behind you if you feel like it's too much stress on the back, or you can just cross your arms. Okay. And I'm gonna have you engage that quad. You're just gonna squeeze that muscle right there, pushing your knee into my hands, so the opposite direction, yep. And you're gonna lift that leg up while squeezing that contraction. Oh. Yeah. Good, as high as you can. Hold that for about 3 seconds, and then back down. The goal is to not let that knee bend. The other compensation is not letting your back lean back or curl. Otherwise, you're gonna create extra strain on that back. We wanna isolate it to that quad. So let's try that a few more times. Good, let's hold that. And where do you feel that?
I feel it up here.
Yep, perfect, good.
Yeah.
So that's where we want to feel it. If you feel it anywhere else, not in the quad, it's likely that either you're just in a weird position or you're just like more fatigued in that area, but typically you want to feel it there if you're doing the exercise correctly. So what you want to do is typically just like a few repetitions, a few holds, and it's meant to be a warm-up, so you don't want to overkill it and do multiple high volume repetition sets and stuff. You want to keep it low volume, low reps, so that you're getting your body warmed up. So let's do one more, and we'll move on.
All right.
Good. And you always want to even it out. You want to do the left, you want to do the right side, even amount of repetition sets, and give yourself a break where your muscle fully calms down and it's not like burning so much that you can't continue to do the repetitions. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. But before that, let's actually kind of talk about more about your dance history. All right, so tell me about just like the general events, activities, things that you have planned and that you've been working on.
So I would say at this very moment, I'm definitely hyper-focused in teaching.
Yeah.
So I'm currently working at about, I want to say 7 different dance studios scattered along Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, and Nassau, Long Island. So, you know, I'm a little all over the place.
That's a lot.
And aside from me teaching, really just going full force with competitions.
Yeah.
So competing for me has always been very exciting. It's been something that I've been doing literally since I started dancing.
Yeah.
So it's always been, you know, hand in hand with what I do, in addition to the more professional side of things. Like the actual competitions allow me to express myself.
Yeah.
They allow me to test to see like how far I've come. Yeah. And it's just a really good way for me to kind of critique myself. So even if I don't necessarily like win something, I'm able to go back, look at the footage of what I did and say, okay, I felt that I truly executed and I leveled up, or I need to go back to the lab and keep training. So
yeah, so what does your training usually consist of?
So typically I will warm up with some type of super intense high cardio. This might mean me starting out with just some warm-up rounds of me battling somebody, just to get like my muscles, you know, loose and warm. Then I'll go into a variety of stretches that would normally last for about, I would say 15 minutes, just working on different parts of my wrists, my back, my thighs, my feet, my ankles. And these are just things that I like to do just to try to prevent injury and just so that I can just get used to what I'm about to do for the rest of the session.
Yeah, absolutely.
And ideally, I will train for a minimum of an hour and a half to 2 hours per session.
Yeah.
And I do that about twice a week.
Yeah.
So when I do train, sometimes I will focus on a particular region of my body. So for example, I might really just want to focus on executing different types of freezes, which are basically like yoga poses. So I might just hold a position like that, you know, for a series of like 5 minutes without moving. And then I'll get up, I'll you know, shake around a little bit, and then I'll just try like a different posture and a different level and a different angle. Or sometimes I might just treat it as, I might just do like straight footwork drills where I'm just, again, going over, doing different types of, what's it called? I'll do different types of singular motion in a particular like square. So like I'll say, okay, I'm not allowed to like leave here, and I'll do a variety of different footwork motions that I'll teach my students, but I'll do it just by myself at a higher intensity. And then I might drill that for like 10 minutes straight. I'll go grab water, come back, and then do just like a different segment. And then aside from that, that might just be me just training random movement and me just exploring my more creative side and just going where the music takes me, and you know, so that's what like my everyday training will look like. And again, this is normally done a minimum of at least twice a week. Sometimes I'll train up to 5 times a week if I'm really feeling it, but it's normally anywhere between 2 to 5 times a week.
Yeah,
So,
which is honestly great because you still want that rest. Your body has to recover, the muscle has to recover. Otherwise, it's not going to get stronger and you're not going to grow as a dancer. So are there any other activities that you're involved in? Any physical related activities? I
mean, I skate an awfully a lot, just for transportation. I play a lot of music rhythm video games, so this is like Dance Dance Revolution and me just being on the pad with that. And aside from that, I would say that those are probably like my main 3. Just dance, just me skating, and just me playing the dancing game.
And that's important. Yeah, I mean, like it's good to cross train, and skating is a form of cross training because you're utilizing different muscles. You're giving the typical muscles that you're working a break and time to recover, but at the same time, you're still training other muscles and still training and developing that resistance to any injuries that could occur regardless of dancing or skating. And honestly, I see you playing a lot of fighting games and like other games on top of that too, right?
There's that as well. I'm a big gamer, so yeah.
And like that's the thing, it's cross training. You can think of it in a way where it's mental health versus physical, and it's important to give your brain a break as well and to vary what you're looking at, what you're working with, and that's a good way to help de-stress as well and provide you a break.
Yeah.
And is an incredible way, honestly, is a unique way as well to take a break from dancing. So with that, let's continue on to the next one. So I'm gonna have you kneel facing towards me on both knees in like a tall kneeling position.
Okay.
And what you want to do is you want to use those quads again, right? So a lot of times when we're kneeling and doing these transitions, we don't really think about contracting any muscles. You're just thinking about being in that position. But I want you to kick into the floor with your feet, utilizing those quads and really pushing into the ground and holding for about 10 seconds and then relaxing.
Okay.
So again, just like the last one, you don't want to do too many repetitions, not too many sets, just enough where you feel like you're warmed up.
Okay.
And this is good for your situation because you want to build up that tolerance on your knees because right now they're very sensitive. So we want to desensitize that area. We can do that by applying pressure manually and getting used to it that way, or you can do it through exercises like this. So once you relax, you do it again. And you can always change it up by bringing one leg forward into a half kneeling position, kind of like this. And what you're going to do is you're going to flatten out that foot and point it, and you're going to push down into the ground.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's tough because you're going to feel a bit of discomfort.
Yeah.
But eventually your body will get used to that as well. And it also helps you to engage and not have as much pressure into the knee.
Okay.
Because you can always lean back a little bit, and now you're using more of that foot.
Okay.
Good, and let's try the other side. Okay, good. How's it feel on that side?
Yeah, it's a little bit more intense.
And you can always build up to this. Right now we're in dirt, but it's honestly pretty hard dirt. So you can always start off on a yoga mat, any type of soft surface, and build up in terms of how hard the surface is until you can get onto hardwood floor and be able to manage that. Obviously you can always address this by wearing knee pads. Sometimes they can be really bulky and you don't really want to be wearing that all the time, but when you're training, it's always a good idea. Good. All right, so I'll have you come back up. So tell me, just how do you manage your day-to-day with the amount of things that you do?
How do I manage?
Yeah, you do so much stuff. How do you keep the energy and the motivation?
I think diet is super important. I know that if I'm just being very, very honest, I haven't had the best diet, and I'm very ashamed to say that because like I am a dancer, but I think definitely like over the past year, I've been a lot more conscious of like what I'm consuming when it comes to the quantity, you know, in addition to like the quality. Yeah. So this might mean, you know, like ignoring like that burger that I really want and to go and like pick up a salad, you know, with like grilled chicken in it instead. Yeah. You know, like things like that. So I'm just trying to be hyper aware of what I'm consuming. In addition to like the actual like liquids, you know, just drinking more water, staying away from sodas. You know, I think like we think that this is obvious, but many of us don't do this. So you know, I've just, you know, just doing things like that. Aside from diet, I would say time management is critical too. I mean, I am teaching a lot. I'm doing a lot of editing. I'm still streaming. I am doing, like you said, I'm doing a lot. So I think for me, just trying to have an organized schedule of being like, okay, so from this time to this time, I'm going to be working on this. And then for like the next few hours, I'm going to be working on this, and just really holding myself accountable to stick with an idea of a plan of what I want to accomplish for that day. Yeah. So even if it means that something takes longer than I thought, you know, I'm gonna just try my best just to pick up the slack for the next task that I have lined up. And I think maybe the most important thing is allowing myself to rest. Yeah. To rest more, because a lot of my friends are always yelling at me like, Brandon, Static, you need to sometimes chill out. So I've been trying to just do that more too. And even if it means that I have social responsibilities of, you know, meeting up with a friend to hang out. There's been many times recently where I'm like, hey, like, I know we have this aligned, but can we please reschedule because I feel physically burned out. Yeah, sure. And just like listening to my body more. Yeah. So, yeah.
It's important to listen to your body.
Yes, very much.
So speaking of the body, we'll move on to the next one. So this exercise is called the sissy squat. You can also call it the Sisyphus squat. I'm not really sure why it's called that, but it's what it's called. So I'll have you just face sideways. So with this, what you want to do is keep your feet parallel, and you're going to keep your hips in line. So your trunk and your legs should be one straight line.
Yeah.
And you're going to slowly push your knees forward, lifting your heels. Good. And
like
sinking
this?
down forward. Yep. Bring the knees to the ground, but again, try not to bend the hips. So your hips should be completely straight. So coming back up and keeping your hips like this.
Oh,
yeah,
so I'm pushing my hips forward.
Yeah, exactly. But keeping it in a straight line, you don't want to overdo it at the same time, and you're using a lot of the quad, so you'll feel that.
Okay.
So go ahead and try that.
So here.
Yeah, keep pushing, keep those hips forward, and then once you feel like you can't go anymore, then you come back up. So you don't want to end up in that folding position. So
okay.
if like a few inches is your limit, that's fine. That's
okay, so I'm pretty much going as low as I can while maintaining that balance.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's all quad.
Whew. Okay.
It's a tough one.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Let's try a few more. Again, try not to bend the hips. I know it's hard because whenever you get down, you're gonna try to go into that hip flexion because that's what you naturally are used to, and I'm forcing you to do something that just doesn't feel natural. But who knows, maybe this can become a part of your routine.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Here.
So don't let those hips bend, you remember? You're losing it, come back up. So let's try one more, really committing.
Okay.
So push those hips forward, knees. If that's as much as you can go, push back up. Yeah, let's try one more like that. Last one. And then back up. So with these, you want to do a bit of a higher rep set because it's more of like a strengthening exercise. You can add weights once you can go all the way down without any compensations with the trunk flexion or if you lose your balance. So around like, say, it depends on the season, of course, as well, what you're trying to do, strength, power. But we can say about like 3 sets of 10, that's the magic number. You can always do that in your training program. So I actually do want to get back into the dance aspect of it a little bit. So I know you mentioned that you teach and you also battle and you participate in events.
Yeah.
So what styles are you involved in again?
So my 3 main styles would be breaking, followed by house, and then I also do a social dance called New Style Hustle.
Yeah.
So those are the main 3 styles that I do.
Nice. Do you teach all those?
Breaking and house, yes. For New Style Hustle, I've taught unofficially, you know, if like friends just want to learn the basics.
Yeah.
But I haven't taught in like a studio space, but for house and breaking, most definitely.
Yeah, it's cool to see because I know like, well, breaking of course this is its home.
Yeah.
And like I know house is just blown up and New Style Hustle, I've actually recently heard about that. I actually learned about that through actually some of your content and through Bodega and all the other dance studios. So give me a little bit of info on that. What does that entail and where did that start from?
I do not know all of the exact history. However, I can reference one of my very, very, very amazing, talented friends within the dance scene. His name is Jeff Shelby. Jeff Shelby is pretty much the guy that took the traditional hustle dance that I think originated back in the 70s and put a new twist on it. So the idea is to take the foundation of the traditional hustle dance and to add elements from a lot of the more modern like Latin dances that we see in salsa and, you know, bachata, merengue, and even taking elements from street dance, you know, from like house, breaking, hip hop into, you know, somebody leading and somebody following. But if you have any type of foundation in any of the social dances that requires a follow and a lead, I think that like New Style Hustle is something that you will be attracted to some degree, in my opinion. And that was the main dance that got me into other types of social dance. You know, I'm not proficient in any of these other dances, but it just made me more curious and made me more aware. And I saw a lot of people doing it. I think this happened back in maybe like 2012, 2013, some of the parties that I was going to, you know, and it wasn't until 2018 that I really gave it a shot. And that was courtesy to one of my friends. Her name is Bianca, shout out to her. and she was pretty much like my new style teacher, my new style hustle teacher, and she knew how to lead and she knew how to follow. So she really just drilled the basics into me. She got me out of my comfort zone to just start dancing, you know, with people, and yeah, so.
I think that's the best part, is just meeting the people in the community and getting pushed by them and get that motivation to continue to pursue those dance dreams, or whether it's recreational or professional, and it really opens up our eyes to different opportunities. And especially in New York City, there's so much going on, and as long as you're looking, you can find it. And how can people participate in all these dance styles? What are some studios or events that usually happen that people can go to?
There's so much.
So much.
I mean, for starters, there's obviously Bodega. That's my place of employment. Bodega has a variety of breaking classes, which I teach. There are 2 house classes currently going on there that are taught by Sabrina and by Hurak. And then there is a new style hustle class taught by Kenji. And those are, you know, just 3 of the classes that you can take in a variety of many, many other like dope classes there. There are also sessions at the same studio. I believe Bodega has a session going on every day, Monday through Friday. Actually, I think they have a session going on every day, if I'm not mistaken. But aside from that, there's also there's Bboy Dance Center, there's I Love Dance, there's PJN, there is Gibney, which is where we're located here. And those are just a couple of studios that just kind of like roll off the top of my head.
There's a ton.
And in regards to just events and parties and whatnot, Soul on the Horn is definitely one party that definitely stands out, just because they cater to dancers. And I say that in the sense that, you know, there's not a lot of dance parties in New York City that solely cater to us. Meaning like they're aware of what we bring, and it's just a very like their hospitality is just like 10 out of 10 when it comes to, you know, like just the general public, but especially the dancers. So that is done and run by D. Prosper, and he works alongside Natasha Diggs, and they've just been doing the damn thing like since, like, I would say I discovered that party back in like 2017, and again, this was courtesy to my friend Bianca, the same girl that taught me how to hustle. So, but Soul on the Horn, like, you'll see a little bit of everything there. Like I've seen people, you know, just grooving, just like that, and then you'll see b-boys going off. You'll see like the house heads. You'll see like the whackers. You know, you'll see the people that are hustling. It's just a really healthy mix of everything. That's one party. Another party that really shaped me as a house dancer was Funkbox NYC. And that party was one of the first consistent parties that I used to go to every Sunday. There was a gentleman who went by Voodoo Ray. He unfortunately passed away, but he was a pioneer. But when it came to just house and curating events, you know, for house dancers, and I'm very happy to say that I got a chance to connect with him, you know, for a few years before he did pass. But I knew that he was responsible for Funkbox NYC. And now DJ Tony Touch is one of the main people that helps run and organize that. Those are just two events, again, that come to the top of my head. But again, I could stay here all day and just talk about like parties, events.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. There's so many great people in the community. And, you know, rest in peace. Like, that's incredible. To have that much of an impact is a great thing. And I'm sure that they will be in a lot of people's memories for a very long time. I know the Light Feet community unfortunately lost someone recently too. So it's really hard seeing these people pass away because they have such a great impact on everyone. And I hope to continue to see people do that, just like you, where you can touch people's lives and create a difference, because it really does make a huge impact. Because without any of these teachers like you, like, there would be no community, you know, like it just wouldn't happen. Because growing up myself, I loved b-boying. Like I started watching on YouTube when it first started. My like I remember seeing my first battle with physics and Junior, and I was like, what? Like what was that? Like it blew my mind. I would start trying to do these moves. But as someone who grew up on Long Island, like I just didn't know what to look for because my parents weren't trying to look for me. I like were trying to look, but having this community member is just so helpful because that's how you get into these types of activities, is through community, and it really shows. So a lot of respect.
Thank you.
So let's get on to the last one.
Okay.
All right, so you're gonna go into a tall kneeling position, coming up, hips again straight. Yep. And what I want you to do is slowly lean back, keeping your hips straight. So do not let them bend. Going as far as you're comfortable. Good. And back up. Okay. So again, just as much as you can without losing that straight line from your head to your knees. How's that feel?
It's intense.
Are you feeling it?
I feel it mainly down here.
Yeah.
Like at the base of my knees.
Knees, where you have initial injuries, right? Yep. So squeeze here and start to lean back. Remember pushing your feet into the floor just as much as you're able to. Of course, you're still going to feel it there because it's just an uncomfortable floor and you had the injury. But again, try and use your best to keep that contraction. Good. So let's face towards the camera after this last one and do the same thing.
Okay.
And again, same thing as the last one. You can do as many sets and reps as you want in terms of what your goals are. But generally, you can just stick to the 3 sets of 10. And again, you can do it body weight, but you also can do it with weights. So this is a great one if you're on the go and you're always busy, just like Bboy Static here. You can always fit it into your routine. Let's get 2 more. So 1, and last one. Nice. It's all warmed up. All right, so is there anything you would like to tell newcomers to the dance, whether it's b-boying, house, whacking, whatever it is? What advice could you give them to start their dance journey?
Don't compare. I think that there's a lot of people that I've witnessed that will ultimately compare their progress to the next person, and I have to remind them that you don't know like the energy or the time that somebody else is putting into their craft. So I have people, for example, come into class and I might ask somebody to do something as simple as a kick out, right? Which in my opinion is one of the easiest type of footwork that you can do in breaking, and they might judge themselves because they're not physically able to like hold like their back up straight, where maybe the other 2 people next to them have it flawlessly. But again, I've seen people that will get very discouraged and they're like, oh, like why can't I do it? I suck. And I'm like, no, you don't suck, you're new.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference of being new versus you being bad. And that's like the one thing that I try to instill into beginner dancers. Again, you don't suck, you're new, and there's a difference. If you're still dancing exactly how you danced in exactly 10 years, then maybe it's safe to say that you suck. Yeah. But like, if you're getting into something, and again, you're still at that elementary level, again, you're a beginner.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't like when people just talk negatively about themselves because they're making that comparison to somebody else.
Absolutely.
But yeah, consistency is key. No matter what style you do, I would say that some styles are harder to get into than others. Like again, with breaking is one of those styles where it might take you a couple months to get one move versus you could go take a hip hop class and just like learn something in a day. So, it just depends on how dedicated you want to be to the dance because everybody has different goals, with their dance. Some people are just using it just to socialize. Some people do it just as a form of fitness, and some people are trying to become the best.
Yeah.
So, take that with a grain of salt. And yeah, ultimately, I think if you're not having fun, then why are you doing it? Yeah. You should be enjoying yourself.
Yeah. For sure.
So, but yeah, just the consistency, and again, you're new, you're not bad.
Yeah, and of course. No, like we're very rarely that someone's amazing at something immediately on the first day. So so that's some good advice. Yeah. What about for people who are already established in dance? What advice could you give them, health-wise, like mental, physical, or any tips that you feel like you wish you knew when you were, or as you are dancing now?
Don't allow your ego to check you from going back to the basics. I think that, you know, even people that are in my position that are teachers and that have been doing like my dance, you know, when it comes to house and breaking for over 10 years now, I still need to go back and review things that my students are doing. And there's lots of times that I'm like having students do A, B, and C, and I'm like, wait, when's the last time have I actually worked on this?
Yeah.
And then I'll go, you know, to my session, which is directly after, and then I'll go and work on that.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, just being open-minded enough to be like, okay, sometimes I need to, again, go backwards.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
just, you know, just to revisit my foundational steps. And yeah, I think that another thing that's very helpful for me is, again, like not to still compare. And I think that a lot of us, because we might have put X amount of years into our dance, we feel that we might, or we should be somewhere.
Yeah.
But again, it's like, how frequently are you practicing? Is this something that is like your only style? Like, or are you like doing like 15 different styles? So I think a lot of people, we hold ourselves to a super high regard.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to remember that it's okay if we're not exactly where we want to be, as long as we're still contributing to making that a reality and not just complaining about like, oh, well, I've been dancing for 10 years. Why have I not been invited to be a judge?
Yeah.
I've heard people say stuff
Really?
like that. So, you know, it's just like, what are you actually doing to contribute to your community, to your scene? Are you just, you know, gonna like have an attitude and just like expect for things to be handed to you just because you put in the time in regards to the dance? But aside from it just being a dance, this is also a community thing as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, like if I use myself as an example, like aside from me still trying to compete and still trying to win and stuff, again, like I'm teaching classes, you know, I'm hosting sessions, you know, I'm going and visiting and showing love to other people within the dance community that are outside of my own. So this means that I'm going to, you know, events like Rounds of Flames, for example, where a lot of like the light feet people and a lot of the flexors and a lot of the people that crump normally migrate there. Or me going to events where I see lots of whackers and Princess Lockaroo and that whole crowd. And I want like my face to be known everywhere, not just as a house head, not just as a b-boy, but I want everybody that's affiliated with New York City dance to know who I am. So I show love to those communities. And I don't do it in a sense that I'm expecting something back in return, but I just genuinely love, you know, like the scene here.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that that's just very important, you know, like you're gonna naturally get back what you put out, you know, but I think it's also very important not to expect that and just let it happen organically.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that's just like my take on it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like it's important to stay humble, and and those fundamentals are important, because like I think back to when I started crumping with Hollow Dreams, and as I continued on, such a great person, honestly. But just like a couple months down the line, like I'm starting to get a feel for it. But the second he brings us back to basics, I'm like, man, this is tough. Like I thought I was dying, even though I was that far in. Like I felt like I knew what I was doing, but at the same time, just that basic conditioning of the simple movements are just so important. That's why they're fundamentals. Every dance style has a fundamental movements that you have to learn in order to be a great dancer, and if you don't include those fundamentals, it's not truly that dance form or that dance style. So so I really do appreciate you sharing all your knowledge and wisdom. It's been great hearing about all of it, and you're such a great and incredible person in the community, because I see you everywhere, and people always talk in high regards to you, and that's such an important thing, because without those figures who are so approachable, it's hard to get into the community, because you need that welcoming feel from the people who are important and have pretty much stakes in that dance style and community, in order for others to feel like they can come in and be welcomed and to learn and to grow through those experiences. So again, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
This has been a great chat.
Man. I got you.
But again, until next time, peace.
Thank you guys.